games and gaming's experience. These are the episodes of the Gamer's Frontier to boldly talk gaming into your ear. These are the Gamer Men.
Hello and welcome to episode 3, part 2 of the Gamer Men. I'm the Earth Nerd.
And I'm Firestorm, aka Kyle.
And in this part of the episode, we're going to be talking about games that are a must-play from when the Xbox 360 was launched up to the present. These are games which we think, we the Gamer Men think, that are games that you should play, which is regardless to whether you've got a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox 360, because quite a few of the games that we're going to mention and talk about are actually out on both consoles.
There's only the exception of 2 or 3 that's only exclusive to Xbox. The rest of them are transferred over to the PS3 as well. So
yeah, and basically it's a case of working out which one is which for your machine. So basically, to start with, obviously, with the bulk of the games that are coming out on that are all out on the Xbox 360, as well as being the odd one or two coming out that are out on the PlayStation 3 as well. The first game that we're going to talk about is one of the Xbox's exclusives. Its series and franchise started in the original Xbox, and there was 2 games on that console. And then obviously the third one was the first game of the franchise out on the 360. It then spawned a sort of sub game which was set between the second and third one, and then the final one that came out on the
360.
The 360 is that being of Halo Reach.
Our favourite.
Yep. I'll let you start with this, Kyle. Why you think this is what first game that we think should be a must-play of this generation?
Well, first off, I'll definitely say that have a look at the others. You need to follow the others just for the sake of storyboard. But with Halo Reach, I know that there is Halo 4 coming out, but up to this point in time, it hasn't been released, so we can only literally say about Halo Reach. Fantastic co-op options on it, fantastic online. Me and Mike's both really enjoyed it. The function of being able to design, make, and test your own maps, whether, with your bunch load of friends and half drunk and stupid shooting each other with rocket launchers, or just having a mess around building your maps for 5 minutes. A superb game just for doing that, let alone the fact that you've got an absolutely awesome campaign on it. I know a few people would probably say, oh, they could have done such and such better, or certain things could be done differently. On the whole, really, the whole campaign I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm not going to give you too much of a spoiler if you haven't played it. It's just, as me and Mike's now making this broadcast, it's one of them games that you really must have a look into, must play if you want to call it that.
It's definitely, if you've not played a Halo game before, obviously for me, Halo 2 is what pulled me into the thing. With many hours were spent with my Xbox up in my neighbours, 30-metre network cable, alcohol, and just blowing the living crap out of each other on a few of the multiplayer maps. Which obviously that's what got me into the whole Halo franchise. I've never been a one for the campaigns. I always thought the campaigns were really. I didn't really know much of what was going on in them. It just felt like running into a room, shooting a lot of things, moving to the next room, shooting another lot of things. Whereas Halo Reach, it feels like you're playing a story, more of a story based. You're getting the story, you're seeing it progress better in this one, and I don't know whether or not that's because they've learned from all the mistakes and of past games, or they've just been able to tell a better, more human-styled story in this particular one than
Giving you another perspective which makes sense this time.
And yeah, so basically, I mean, personally, the campaign on this one is the greatest campaign out of all the Halo games. A lot of people will dispute that. Personally, my thoughts are Halo Reach has the best campaign out of all the Halo games that's out to date. Nobody knows what Halo 4, as you mentioned, Kyle, which is due out in November, is going to be like. The graphics on that look outstanding, but as far as the Halo games up to now, it is the best Halo game. The multiplayer is spot on. They've took the best parts out from ODST and Halo 3, kept those, and made the game more simple to play from obviously when it was Halo 2. One of the things I've found that I've spent more time doing though is, as Kyle mentioned, is the Forge. I've lost count of the amount of maps that I've built on it that people have thought are really, really good. If you ever want
the amount of maps that you've built, I've copied and then programmed as my own.
Yes, you've nicked and tweaked them to what you want, and it's great that somebody can do that. And it's like taking a cardboard box and making a pyramid out of it. But yeah, it's definitely one of those games that you sit and look at it and think, this game is actually pretty cool. It's one of those ones where you can just jump in, have a quick 5 minutes on the multiplayer, or it is one of the best games to have come out in the past sort of 10 years, especially for first-person shooters. Another one that kind of broke the mould for first-person shooters was Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. And the games, anybody that's played Call of Duty series will say that yes, they're really, really good and everything. One of the things that a lot of people don't realise is that each and every one of the Call of Duty games that's been out since Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare has basically been a clone of Modern Warfare, which is why we're putting this one into the games that you must play list. The campaign on this one is far superior to any of the other Call of Duty games that have followed. I mean, that is just my opinion, but the level that I play the most, and if you haven't played it, you'll hear of anybody that has played it. The level
I know which one you're going to say.
Giddies in the Mist.
Yeah, every time. Every
time. You're a sniper, you're running around with... who are you running around with again? Is it Price?
Price, yeah.
Or is it... it's Price, isn't it? Not
Sergeant.
I think
it could be Captain... I think it's Captain Price.
Yeah, I'm sure it was Price. And obviously, Price and you are crawling through the grass, having to stop when a tank goes over the top of you. Never have I sat in a video game where I've been sat on the edge of my seat while something like that, the enemy is literally on top of you, and you've got to stay still, otherwise you'll get spotted.
And then you get shot to crap. Yeah, that scene alone where you just have to make it past all that swarm of enemies, as you've said, you're getting run over by a tank or very close to. Which game actually allows that to happen and make it feel so real?
But it's not just that. I mean, you had key moments in where you had big explosions. You had you did have the big explosions and set pieces like you have in the ones after that. But this one is the one that redefined the sort of campaign mode, if you will, for the Call of Duty series. If you look at every Call of Duty game after that, you're guaranteed to have more big explosions. Some guy's going to pull a gun out and point it at your head before pulling the trigger and the screen goes black. Or you're going to have your arm blown off, or you're going to get mortared, and you're going to be stumbling around and dizzy before obviously getting back into the swing of things. So,
It's just, well, you've said it then and there, you got that many variety of different things happening. Superb game.
So yeah, I mean, the other thing with Modern Warfare is it redefined multiplayer for first-person shooters as well. The maps were fantastic. It gave a whole new meaning to playing sort of first-person shooters in multiplayer format. You get so many levels and you get prestige and you can go at another level. Also, the whole perks system as well was brilliant. You know,
And the way you could, well, I wouldn't say it really forced you, but it does benefit you to walk around with a well-trained team as well.
yeah.
If you've got a bunch load of mates and they're quite good at it, then there's nothing stopping you. The sky's the limit.
I mean, the thing is with Call of Duty 4, it can be picked up for around about £5 or less.
Yep.
You know, and yeah, fair enough. If you jump into the multiplayer now, you're gonna have far too many hackers, and you know, which does spoil the game. But on the same note, you don't get any achievements for the online on this. So if you're one of these people that likes to go out for the achievements and everything, but really wants to have a quality campaign game on a game to go through, Modern Warfare, the first one, Call of Duty 4, is got to be one of the games that you must play of this generation on that pure basis that the campaign will have you on the edge of your seat, that you will be, you know...
You'll be terrified and you'll be happy and sad and all the range of emotions just off a video game.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
It's very few games, I mean, especially without giving the ending away, I was so shocked at the ending on this game. I was like, what? You can't do that?
Yeah.
Shouting at the screen the first time I completed. You know, it was kind of like, oh, you've got to give up these extra bits of downloadable content or something like that. And it wasn't until Modern Warfare 2 that they started to continue the story on. And obviously that wasn't as good as Modern Warfare. And then again, Modern Warfare 3 is not as good as the second one. So if you want a Modern Warfare game to play,
pick up the first one.
It is brilliant. Not necessarily for the online play, but more for the campaign. Pick up Call of Duty 4.
Well, I have played Call of Duty 4 online, and you know, even though you do occasionally come across the absolute bloody buggers hacking away, occasionally, very rarely, well, it's not that rarely, you will find one that is hacker free, and you'll have the best online experience. However long that lasts, you will have one of the best online experiences for COD series on that game.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Call of Duty games now are all you spawn, you die, you spawn, you die, you spawn, you die, and you hit something like level 10 where you can get at least a few decent weapons to be using. So yeah, I mean, out of 10, you know, this goes up there with Halo Reach. 10 out of 10 for Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. The subsequent games that followed that have always been knock it down 1 point, knock it down 1 point. They've not added anything new. They just think adding a couple of perks to the new perks and a few more massive explosions to
the story's changed, but
it's not the same. You know, it's like the Gears at War games. The first Gears game was like, you know, the campaign on that wasn't that great. It was a challenge to go through, but it was one of those games where it shone on the multiplayer side of things. I mean, when the first Gears of War game came out, I never really heard of it. I bought it because I knew everybody else was going to be buying it, and it's one of those games where it was money well invested. It pretty much spent about 7 months, average 7 months in the console because I was playing it that much. Obviously, the subsequent Gears games after that haven't exactly stood in the console as longer. More for obviously other games coming out that I wanted to play as well. But I mean, Gears 2, the campaign on that was absolutely outstanding compared to the first one. But the multiplayer on it suffered a lot, and a lot of people avoided playing it till around about 2 months before Gears of War 3 came out.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you've. I'm not sure if you've got Gears too, but
I've picked up the whole series all in one big batch.
yeah. So, and it
Because
wasn't.
I'm new to the Xbox. It's luckily enough I managed to came in just as the third one out of the franchise just arrived. So I played through the first, second, and the third in quite a short space of time.
Yeah, I mean, the Gears of War series. There's a lot of things you can see in Gears of War that have been duplicated in other games. Some of the breakable cover was, for example, the ducking into cover, the whole pressing the A button to do this, the active reloads, and a lot of it has been moved off into the other games, in sort of like first person games, third person games, and it's definitely one of those series that you have to pick up. I mean, from the point of view of playing online, Gears of War 3 is possibly the best one because it loses all the host advantage. It loses, it's more balanced, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot more balanced. It's a lot smoother as well.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you don't like going up against other people on Gears games because you just get absolutely annihilated. I'm
Yeah.
the same. I've spent more time playing on Horde than anything else, which I'm a bit surprised at considering the first Halo Gears of War game. I spent God knows how many hours just playing multiplayer, jumping into random matches, and and things like that. I mean, my biggest gripe with the Gears games are the fact that the shotguns are still far too overpowered.
They have altered that though slightly, so it's a little bit more shit than
Yeah,
it was not that long ago.
I think the shotgun should take an extra second, maybe, to fire it between shots, type of thing. Because obviously people still fire it off like a blooming rapid fire gun, which obviously isn't very good. And it's not one of those things that you would tend to think of in a game, really. I mean, it took me by surprise, the Gears of War series, because I obviously didn't really look into it that much and wasn't really over there. Why have to get that game type of thing? Because it didn't seem to blow me away the way it seemed to be blowing everybody else away. But obviously, I was more interested in sort of more of the other games than that. But obviously, it is definitely one of the. If you want to play through the whole series, you can pick the whole lot up for around about £30 now, in total. 30 to 40 quid for the whole lot, which is obviously the price of a brand new game. Another one that is definitely worth picking up, which is a multi-platform game, is Borderlands. Now, you can pick up the Game of the Year edition for around about £20. That one has all the extra DLC on it as well. It is definitely worth picking up. It is, the way I view it, is it's a first-person shooter that's mixed with something a bit like World of Warcraft.
Well, I don't know whether that's entirely accurate, but it is definitely a weird one anyway.
Yeah, well, if what I mean by that is the fact that you speak to somebody, you go off and do that mission, and you go back to speak to that person, and you claim your experience points from it. You kill something, you get X amount of XP, and that's what I was meaning by it's like a futuristic shooter, but it's got ties to World of Warcraft in that sense. Because effectively, to me, it's just it's like World of Warcraft in a way, because you have this big space that you can just it's massive sandbox you can just run around in. And that's where obviously I'm picking the similarities up. It isn't one of the greatest games to play on your own, because personally I found it a tad boring playing the game on my own. But,
I have to admit I did makes, well, I wouldn't say it's a mistake, but I did play through it an awful lot on my own, all the way through the campaign, all the way through the DLC. And I enjoyed it, but to get the proper, full experience of the game, it's got to be played with your mate, just for,
Co-op with them is probably the
yeah,
best way of playing
it's the
Borderlands.
best way.
I mean, I played that on my own right away through the game when it first came out, and I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, but it did feel like it did get a little bit repetitive on sort of like shoot this thing, go and do this, take it back to that guy, go and see that guy, get another mission, go and do that mission, come back, get the experience points, and so on and so on. But it slowly builds up a storyline of what you're going through to find the vault, and you meet all these bizarre people, really, isn't it?
Weird and wacky doesn't quite cut it.
Yep, definitely. So, it's just one of those things that you've just got to sort of like, look at and think, well, is it going to be a game for me? If you're not sure, you can pick it up for around about £5 or £6 in game at the moment. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those games that was classed as like a sleeper hit. Not many people were looking at it, but it came out, and the more people that played it was the Shawshank Redemption effect, I think people would probably class it as, where nobody actually really went to the pictures to see that, but
everyone heard of it.
Whoever went to the pictures to see it went and told their friends, and then they went to see it, and then they told their friends. And it's one of those games where you go, nobody had really heard of it or paid much attention to it, but somebody gets hold of it, plays it, they turn around and tell their mates, then their mates play it, then their mates tell their mates, and then their mates tell their mates, and before you know it, you've got half the UK playing it. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those games that has the feel of like, it doesn't look that great, but the second you play it, you can't not want to put it down.
Yeah, you really don't want to put it down until you finish the whole damn game.
Yeah, I mean, I've
outstanding.
Got some DLC left to go through on it, but I played it far too much, and I've had to take a break from it. I'm just trying to will myself to go back to it now to finish it off, because I know if I go back to it, I'll not bother putting anything else back in. Another game that's like that is Skyrim. Now, Elder Scrolls games and me don't really mix. I don't particularly like them, just because they're too fixed down narrow routes. If you pick that type of thing, you've got to play as that type of character. Where Skyrim is broke the mold completely of role-playing games, especially, where it's you develop the character the way that you want to play it. If you want to play as a mage one day, then a warrior the next, then a rogue the next, you can do, without having to restart the game as a specific character model.
Character, yeah. The options are available to you. I mean, not only is it a good game in general, just for the length and diversity, the graphics are stunning. The actual fighting in it is amazing. The weapons are unique.
Well,
because,
they're not just unique. The weapons, God, how many weapons is actually in that game? Do you know what I mean? One of the things that astounded me with Skyrim is getting up into the top of a mountain, or just walking up the side of a mountain, or coming out of a cave, and you literally have a massive the draw distance on it is amazing, especially with the amount of detail that's in it. You can see your enemies miles and miles in the distance, and the other thing is, it does kind of lead you down into the story, whereas before the previous games,
previous games are, tend to follow along the lines of Fallout series. It's very much fixed.
And it's that's it basically. that's what was putting me off the other ones. It's fixed, and it wasn't guided. It usually you do this little bit, and in the other ones, and then it was like go where you want. Whereas Skyrim, you kind of guided down to a village, and then you guided right off to another village to then expand off the way that you want to expand your character and your experience. I mean, I spent 40 hours on this, and then deleted that game save and any other saves for that particular character, and started again, and it still felt like I was playing a completely different game. And that's what you want from games, that you want a different experience every time you go through it. I mean, I'm nowhere near finished playing Skyrim. I don't think I'm even halfway through the game. I know
I'm not.
You're a bit further on than what I am, but Skyrim on the PlayStation, PC, or whatever it's out on is one of those games. If you've never played an RPG, not sure if you'd like it, go down to Blockbusters or on one of these online game companies like Love Film or Boomerang Rentals. Rent it. You will need to spend about 3 hours on it to get a good feel on it. If you don't like it after those 3 hours, then you're not going to like the game at all. But
it's Marmite, but you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
If you love it, you'll never put it down for at least 40 hours.
Well, that is true. I mean, the only thing that stopped me playing it was Gears of War 3 came out. But I think I quickly went back to playing Skyrim, to be honest with you.
I think we all did.
I mean, that goes to show you, a big monster like something like Gears of War, even Modern Warfare, I still was going back to playing, going back and playing Skyrim over those. So it just goes to show you how much effort Bethesda actually put into the actual game itself. The other thing I like about it is the whole thing about the dragons and that mythology on it as well. But there's a lot of mythology into it.
They've got a lot of the Norse mythology on it. They've got dragons, there's necromancers, there's witches, there's
something for everybody.
Sorts.
I mean, you can be a werewolf, you can be a vampire. They have literally gone to town on this. I'm just waiting for the new DLC coming out to find out what the hell the expansion's going to be on it. I mean, I've heard it's supposed to be 2 or 3 times the size of Oblivion, or something like that. It's interesting to find out what they're going to do. I reckon it's going to be at E3 where they're going to announce it. I mean, another game that stuck closely to the another set of games really that are must plays really are the Batman games that came out. Batman Arkham Asylum was one hell of a sleeper hit. Nobody had seen it coming. A lot of people in the past have done Batman games, and they've basically done them like a beat 'em up. You run around, you run around,
you kick some bells of crap out of people, and move on to the next one.
Yeah, and then your end boss would be somebody like the Penguin of that level, and then you move on to the next level, and the end boss would be the Joker. Arkham Asylum broke that mold and blew everybody away, not just graphically, not just down with the gameplay, but the fact that it actually stayed true to the Batman mythos of he was a Dark Knight, he was a detective, he had relationships with with Oracle, with Commissioner Gordon. His love-hate, his yin-yang relationship's probably more the better thing to say, with the Joker. His conversations with the Joker, with Poison Ivy, Harlequin, Killer Croc, Victor Zsasz. Who else was in that? Can you remember?
Oh God, mate!
you had hints of Catwoman, Penguin, the Riddler, the banter with the Riddler in that in Arkham Asylum. Bane was another one, another big one. All these big names, big hitters that people recognise.
Mr. Freeze in that?
Not in the first one, he wasn't. And then obviously, because of the popularity of Arkham Asylum, they went on to do Arkham City. which was basically making it more of an open world discovery type of thing. Each area had its own sort of theme. You had Penguin's Iceberg Lounge area, which Penguin had taken over, because what they did was they took the concept of No Man's Land, slapped it towards Arkham Asylum, and made it into Arkham City. So you've got Joker in there, who's really ill. You've got Harlequin. You've got you've got Bane in there still. You've got hint of Poison Ivy. You've got Mr. Freeze. Scarecrow's hinted at somewhere in there as well, which you need to discover. Obviously, our Penguin, as we mentioned. Solomon Grundy's in there. Mad Hatter, of all people's, in there as well. And basically, they took Arkham Asylum. You start with everything that you finish Arkham Asylum with. And you progress through the game, expanding on your gadgets and everything, using detective mode again. They improved the fighting mechanics on it.
They've improved the fighting mechanics no end.
Well, the thing is, it's the first game I thoroughly enjoyed. I'm a massive Batman fan anyway, but the second one, Arkham City, I could not put it down. I had to play the game right the way through.
Yeah, it is. I have to say the Batman series is just one of them that once you've started playing, you don't really want to stop.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, there's rumours that they're doing another Arkham-style game. Don't know what it's going to be called. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually turned around and went Batman Gotham City. So obviously you still have the leftover of what happened in Arkham City. But obviously they expanded even more and make it the whole of Gotham City. Because I seriously think if they pull it off right, they could maybe make it where you're actually using the Batmobile to some extent.
Oh, that would be the next
GTA style
big state. Yeah.
I always said, if they were going to do Batman, chuck it in as GTA style type of driving, where it's got some good handling, but it takes a little while to get used to. But again, you could do that, use that, jump out of it, and
jump out of it, beat living daylights out of some mugger, get back in it, and then move on to a mission.
You could park the car, jump out, and grapple your way around wherever, and then if you wanted to decide that you wanted to go into your car again, a bit like you do in Zelda, Ocarina of Time, where you whistle for the horse coming. Do you know what I mean? Same thing again. You press a certain button that calls Batmobile. He presses a couple of buttons on his wrist or whatever. And a couple of seconds later, the Batmobile turns up and you can hop into that and drive off.
Yeah.
Be something interesting to see. They have just announced a Game of the Year edition of Arkham City. That's due out in the UK in September. Don't know what the price for it would be, but it's going to have all the DLC, including the latest one, which is Harlequin's Revenge, which is coming out in May. So that's a little bit of news for, obviously, those that maybe looking at getting Batman Arkham City. Hold off, grab hold of it.
Grab hold of it when it's the complete edition.
When it's the Game of the Year edition. If you're wanting to play through the storyline, by all means, purchase it. Or rent it, which would be my suggestion. I'm trying to hunt down a Arkham Asylum Game of the Year edition, and the same thing, I'll be getting the Arkham City Game of the Year edition. I've gone through Arkham Asylum around about 5 or 6 times now, and I still don't grow tired of it. And another game that I've gone through personally quite a few times is Burnout Paradise. Possibly the best racer, in my opinion, on that's come out this generation. I don't know what you think. Your thoughts are on that, Kyle. But I do enjoy the fact that it's open world and you can pick your own way through the city to get from A to B.
Yeah, you can pick your own race. You can. Well, that's the most unique feature about it. It is a racing game that you can pick out exactly what you want to do. If you don't want to race at all, then you've got a massive map. You can literally run around and find all the unique locations, find all the back roads, find all the little challenges, and
The smash gates, the
yeah,
billboards.
smash through the billboards and get a massive gamer score doing that. That
The
was
other one was the jumps as well. There's the jumps. There's literally something
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, there's tons to do and loads of things, loads of achievements to get without actually playing any of the actual game itself. I.e., racing around. And
Exactly.
and the better one yet that I would say about it is you're not just racing, you're not going from point A to point B in the fastest possible way. And it's not even like other games where you just, you've got other people that are trying to shoot you or kill you or just ram you off the road. You can make your own way there however you want to make your own way there. You don't have to follow an exact route. It'll give you a route, but whether you take it or not is entirely up to you. I
Yeah.
mean, you can. The
Follow
amount
the
of
route it gives
times.
you, or you can
Yeah,
just go, all right, stuff that. I'm going to go this way.
yeah, well, the amount of times that that it's set me a course and you're going, well, this is like one of the ways you can get there. No, I know a better way. I've studied that map. I know my way around the city. If I go down here, I'll make it there 2 seconds earlier than the rest of the cars. And it's a superb game just for doing that option. Finding out all the little back roads and then playing the main missions themselves. And then just like finding out that it's a lot more involved than a lot of the other racing games. The second thing I really love about it, well, not just the second thing, but one of the list of things, if you grab a mate and, he's got a copy of it, it's not co-op game, but you can race each other. You can race in different locations. I mean, if you've got the DLC for it, and so's your friend, you could do stupid things. I mean, me and the mate on the PlayStation, we went over to Big Surf Island, and there's like a screw car park, and it's one of them that just go in concentric circles up this gigantic screw, as I'm just gonna call it, because that's the best way of describing it.
Yeah, it's called the
And
screw, actually. It's
yeah,
actually
yeah.
called the screw.
Funnily enough, it is called the screw. Oh, gee. And me and a mate just spent, oh god, about like at least an hour in a drunken stupor, racing each other up this bloody screw, trying to get to the top fast enough, and then fly off and get through the donut that's at the top.
It's just
it,
daft
it
things that you don't tend to think of. Do you know what I mean? That you look at and think, I can do that, and then you spend maybe half an hour just trying to do one jump.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
one of the most bizarre things. It's a racing game that one of the main principles of it is to smash into the other cars, not necessarily win the race as quickly as possible, but it's take as many cars out as you can.
Yeah, that's one of the game modes.
Do stunts to to go explore and to this date from when it was launched, it still stands out as one of the best games to actually play. A lot of people gave it a bit of negative feedback because it wasn't like Burnout 3 Takedown or Burnout Revenge, where you just selected the thing and went. You actually had to drive to the junction.
Yeah, you have to drive to the junction, make sure it's the one that you want, make sure your car's alright before you get there, and, loads of other options before you've actually started the game.
Yeah. And, it is one of the greatest sort of things to look at. Big Surf Island, I bought that when that first came out, and it is absolutely amazing. It adds a whole more... it adds an island basically to your already absolutely humongous big chocker block map. There's no other way of putting it really.
It's a massive map, and it's a unique and diverse world that they've created.
Well, I think from driving from one end of the map to the other, you can do it within 5 minutes. That is provided you don't crash.
Yeah.
You crash, you're going to spend a little bit longer. Um,
Half the time, picking your control off the floor in many, many pieces, but yeah.
And it's one of those things where you just think, but it's one of those other games though. You've got to start playing it and play it for a little while to unlock some of the what I would class as the better cars. It's one of those games that you would have to do that with, and
Or you can just buy the DLC cars and then race around in essentially the best of the best.
And there's not an awful lot of that you can actually say about that. There's no other racing game, from as far as I'm concerned, that can touch Burnout Paradise.
No, not that I can think of. I mean, you had the Grand Theft Auto series, but that's not a racing game.
It's not. But I mean, it's what you would probably class as one of those. What would you say? It's one of those sort of sleeper hits.
Oh, it definitely a sleeper hit. I mean, even though the fact that a lot of people have heard of it, the popularity was kept quiet for quite a while.
It's one of those games where the popularity just grew slowly.
Yeah.
To the point now where there's that many other games out now that other people tend to just sort of, look at it and go, right, well, there's newer games out than that, and don't actually bother with it. If you pick it up...
Big mistake, that one, though.
Yeah, if you pick it up, you've got... my advice would be, play it. I mean, the demo is still online. Bear in mind, that demo does give you something from the very, very beginning of the game, rather than stuff that's further into it, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it's one of those games that you must play at some point, not necessarily straight away, but it's definitely one that you should maybe look at picking up and playing, as obviously it's something that you probably won't put down very, very short, very, very
very quickly.
Very quickly, yeah.
One thing that I would say, actually, as well, a lot of my style of playing games is shooting games. I love shooting games. That is the one genre I'm really good at. It's the one genre I stick to. And even I got on well with Burnout Paradise. So, how much more of a recommendation can you get in that one?
The only similarities that Burnout Paradise has with a shooting game is the fact that they're both destructive. And
maybe it's that I like about it. You can take your
friends out with it, It's, so yeah, I mean, one of the other games that, well, I don't know whether did you know a lot about Darksiders at all when it was coming out and things like that, or did you?
I just got the game, mate. I didn't hear an awful lot of hearsay about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a few people say that it was really good, blah blah blah, and it was something to look at. But I'd never really heard of it. I'd never really looked at it that much. But I was in Game Station and obviously spent over the amount that you had to spend, and I got picked up for a tenner. And I've got to admit, it's one of the best. I mean, I would have paid £40 for it after playing through the actual game. I started playing it thinking, I'll just test it and I'll put it down and go back to whatever it was I was playing at the time. And I spent more time playing that than the actual game that I went into Game Station to buy. It is, if you ever liked Ocarina of Time that was done back on the N64, Darksiders plays a lot like that. It has a lot of similarity feeling to it, to that game. The other thing it has is that it's a bit like Bayonetta and Devil May Cry, the way that you can combo up your moves and stuff as well. It is one of those games where you pick it up, you start playing, and it has a few twists and turns in it.
Loads of different.
You've got to go back through the levels that you've done previously to get more places, the abysmal armor, and reach places that you didn't even go to, you couldn't get to before. I've gone through, yet again, it's another game that I've got that I've gone through several times, and I still really thoroughly enjoy it. I am seriously looking forward to the second one when it comes out. Did you actually play much of Darksiders at all, or have you not actually touched it?
I completed it, mate, or as close to completing it as humanly possible anyway. I think I got all the way up to the last boss fight.
Yeah, the boss. That's the thing with the bosses; they're not exactly that hard to actually beat. It's just working out how you do take them down, and then once you're doing that and you know how to take them down, it's getting to do that without losing too much of your health.
Or you can go on the internet and watch them do it and then copy them.
Well, but that's just cheating, though. I never did that one. You know? It does have collectibles in it, though. I've got to admit, it does have. You know, you've got to go around and get. There's so many chests for. Is it Wraith Power or something?
Yeah.
The other one is obviously the life
Invisible.
force. Or no, the life force thing. You know, you build up so many of the things of the skull, and it gives you another extra notch on it, or heart as it would have been in. You know, similar to Zelda, where you collect 4 pieces of the heart and make up the full one to get the next bit. Bit like that. And then obviously there's what they call the abysmal armor, which basically it regenerates your health. You should be on the apocalyptic mode with the abysmal armor on, and you'll walk through the game. You know, and that seems to be a main trend these days on video games. I don't know if you noticed, a lot of games come out now with collectibles in, or things that you need to collect. One of the most pointless collectibles in a game, well, in the first set of the games anyway, was in Assassin's Creed 1. Developers just chucked the flags in to keep people playing it. It gave you X amount of gamer score, but it didn't give you anything in the game. The developers
it was shit.
but the developers have actually turned around and actually said that they only put it in there for the hell of it, to try and keep people playing it, and they were amazed at the amount of people that actually did. What gets me is that the amount of time and the way they hid them, and everything like that. It's definitely a series that you should play through. Assassin's Creed 2, if you've not played any of Assassin's Creed, if you've not played any of them, play that one first. Because the second game, obviously, the present sort of storyline continues on from the first one, and the sort of 2 spin-offs, obviously Brotherhood and the Abysmal one. Or abomination, should we say, of Revelation.
It's an abomination to all of gaming.
It's one of those games that you start playing, you're thinking, I'm bored of playing this now, there's nothing different in it. But
it was outstandingly fucking shit from the first 2 freaking minutes of the piece of crap.
I'm guessing that is the most polite way of you putting it.
Yeah, I'm holding back on that one.
I think what they did was, personally, because the new Assassin's Creed was going to be released this year. Assassin's Creed 3 has been in development since they finished Assassin's Creed 2. So it's got a new engine on it and everything, which is why Assassin's Creed Brotherhood and Revelations, or Abomination as you could probably call it, is basically the same graphic engine as Assassin's Creed 2. If you really, really must want to play Assassin's Creed games, personally, Assassin's Creed 2 was the best game in the franchise to date.
I'll second that one, mate. Assassin's Creed 2.
Brotherhood was good, although it could be done in episodic content, I think, rather than making it a full game on its own. I think the reason that they brought that one out on its own as a game is because it had the multiplayer attached to it, which was something new for the franchise. And then obviously Revelations just added a tiny bit You know, they did a Call of Duty with it basically. Added a
the-
few little bits and called it a new game, and it wasn't.
it was a few tweaks. It was an altered storyboard, which, by the way,
Was
the
crap.
ending of it was appalling. I
Well,
know we've
I
got the
just
third
thought,
one coming out, but it's appalling.
yeah, with Revelations, without giving anything away on it, you play through the whole game, expecting it to progress the storyline. It doesn't. You get to the last 5 minutes of the game, and you get everything in the last 5 minutes. If you want to know what happens, and you're not wanting to spend hours playing through the game, running from A to B, going from one end of the map to the other to do a mission, to just run right way back to the other end of the map.
Basically,
Then,
save yourself a tenner, go online, find out the ending of it, and if
YouTube it.
you're still wondering about what's the game like,
Avoid it.
play Brotherhood. It's fucking identical,
It's
you know.
pretty much identical to Brotherhood. Assassin's Creed 2 does stand out as the best one out of the whole lot. I hope, touch wood, that with Assassin's Creed 3, they keep a few bits and pieces, but they make it more like Assassin's Creed 2. You know, but it remains to be seen what they do with that. One of the biggest hits, or biggest surprises, I would say, from the list of games that we have in front of us, I think we're going to run out of time with regards to the games that we do have. I mean, we do have a massive list of games that you should go out and have a go of. It was Mortal Kombat. Now, a lot of people said Mortal Kombat 2 was the best game back on the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo and the arcade. Mortal Kombat 2 has been denoted was the best game of the franchise. I think the rebirth version or whatever, Mortal Kombat 9 or the whatnot, is literally entitled Mortal Kombat, which basically takes they went back to basics with it. They've
Started all over again.
well, no, they haven't started all over again. They basically took exactly what happened from Mortal Kombat 1 to 3 and put a new spin on it, and they still stayed true to what already happened in the Mortal Kombat franchise, with the whole Armageddon thing and everything. What amazed me with this version of Mortal Kombat was they went from they tested the water with the Mortal Kombat versus DC. A lot of people played it and said it was really good, but it lacked that Mortal Kombat flair. And the reason it lacked the Mortal Kombat flair is because DC didn't want their characters to be decapitated, spleens pulled out and, burnt alive and stuff like that. And obviously they couldn't have Superman,
Superman having his lower intestine.
You couldn't have Superman have his fist putting his fist through some Mortal Kombat character to, denote the whole thing of him, because it goes against everything he stands for. And by all means, you couldn't have Batman do that, because Batman just, obviously, he doesn't kill anybody, but he will beat you to a pulp. And I think with the way that the storyline went in that Mortal Kombat versus DC, they probably could have got away with it by saying it was the rage thing that they had. Now, what they did with Mortal Kombat is they went back to the drawing board with it. They put it back on a 2D plane, so you don't step in and out of the arenas anymore. It's all on a 2D plane. It's got the feel of Mortal Kombat 1, 2 and 3, and whatever the spin-offs from 3 were, and the trilogy one, where it was all 2D. Graphically, it is outstanding. It uses the Unreal 3 engine, much like a lot of the games like Borderlands, Batman. I think Darksiders used it a bit.
Yeah.
Even Gears of War series, all used it, but it's one of those games where they took the basic concept of the engine, added a few bits to it, and made it a style of its own. They've kept a lot of I would say one of the more popular, a lot of the popular characters in it. It basically starts off at the end of where Mortal Kombat Armageddon, which was Mortal Kombat 8. Where that ends, where Raiden's pretty much beaten to a pulp by Shao Kahn or whoever it was, and obviously it's going to be the end of Arm, end of days type of thing, and he sends himself a message back through time. God knows how the hell he does, I don't know. But he said, and I played to the game, sends it back through time to himself. It's Raiden trying to alter the course of history to avoid the Armageddon. Is pretty much the storyline concept. The storyline on it, you play as pretty much every one of the characters. So you have a few fights as one person, and it transitions over to the next one. And then you have a few fights with that person, and it transitions to the next one. Storyline on it is amazing. I don't know how far you've actually getting through the storyline on it, Kyle, but I know that you've got it because you beat me a couple of times the other day, which you were quite proud about.
Damn right I'm proud about it. Every other time you kick some balls of crap out of me.
What can I say? When you've played the game and you've been a big Mortal Kombat fan since the beginning of Mortal Kombat back on the Mega Drive and SNES, it's one of those things that it's something that you don't forget how to do. Scorpion Spear or the freeze ball with Sub-Zero. Although you do like Shiva's
I like Shiva's stomp thing. Much to your disgust, repeatedly doing Shiva's stomp until there's nothing left but a bloody mess.
Do you know where it is? I'm going to try and find a lot of video footage of Shiva's stomp and then just make up a tune. I think when we put Ozzy Osbourne's Zombie Stomp song, hey, with Zombie Stomp, and it's just Shiva stomping the crap out of everybody. But the storyline is absolutely fantastic. For all we all know what happens with Mortal Kombat 1, what happens in Mortal Kombat 2 and Mortal Kombat 3, this puts a whole new light on it, and because obviously Raiden is trying to prevent things, it changes key moments of the original trilogy, it has a few shocks. Without giving away a lot of the storyline, it does kill off a few characters.
A fair few, actually.
Fair few, but they've left it open as to do another one. Whether they do that or what they're going to do with it remains to be seen, and whether or not it's going to be actually coming out on this generation. They might be doing one for the next generation of consoles. I think is when we're probably going to see a sequel to this game. I mean, this game was 6-7 years in the making.
I believe so.
I mean, effectively, it's been almost a decade where we've had it. Actually, possibly even more than that. Where we've had a decent Mortal Kombat game. One of the things I do love about it, though, is the combo system on it. You can literally be